Hello and welcome back. Today I want to take a quick look at the Taiwanese FGT and the skills of the assassin in Aion2. So let's start with the FGT. Out of nowhere, a Taiwanese FGT stream started, and it was soon after privated, so most of us couldn't even watch it. Some people, however, did instantly record it, and we got to see some more gameplay and in-game footage. I personally saw this from Philographics. I will link the video in the description if you want to watch it completely. Anyway, there are some interesting parts we saw there. For one, the character creator looks very vast, with many different options. In particular, this one seemed unique, beyond the pretty girls that are usually created. Then we see one of the FGT testers finish the character creation in at least a few seconds of the starting cutscene. We can't really tell much about it yet, but it seemed like we were freed from something? We were kinda locked up, it seems. And the last thing I want to mention is when you pick your class, you have a detailed preview and description of the class's skills. This looks really nice and surely will make it easier for new players to pick their favorite class. We can also see the Tursenkral from the first Aion game that are in Verteron. They were used here as training dummies for the preview of the skills. And that's pretty much all we got to see from this surprise stream. There will be another Taiwanese livestream on the 23rd. We don't really know what it's about, so let's just wait and see. Hopefully we get more infos about other classes, because I want to see more of the chanter. In the Aion2 community Discord, we got some additional questions answered from I think some of the FGT testers in Taiwan. I will only quickly go over some important infos. In terms of the chanter class, the tester says only 10% of this class is healing. There's more focus on buffs like increased damage dealt and movement speed. They also focus on damage skills, but obviously not as good as other classes. Those buffs are passive. Once you press it, it will stay forever until you die. That sounds very much like the mantras in the first Aion game. I honestly am a bit worried about this though, because is the chanter really losing one or more than one active skill slot for a mantra? In the first Aion game this wasn't that big of a deal since you had a lot of skills. But here in Aion2 with a lower amount of skills, I wonder how they will balance that. The next question is, do skill customizations allow for complete build archetype changes, like DPS Cleric or Templar and the likes? And the answer is, 6 skills are fixed. You can build another 4 skills out of these 10. There are some skills obviously better for PvE or PvP. I don't think you can customize as much as with Aion1 as a DPS cleric, but you surely can build all 4 skills for DPS as a cleric. Then a few quick infos. Godstones will be in the game, but the tester didn't get to test them specifically. You can't change gear mid-combat, and there were free gear presets. Classes don't seem to have multiple weapons. He or she has seen rifts on the map that lead to the other faction's territory. And the tester didn't see Sanctum or Pandemonium at all, so they don't seem to be there. And that's pretty much it about the important stuff that was answered. Alright, let's now get to the assassin skills we saw in the last Aion2 livestream. Before we get into the specific skills, let's take a look at how the description shows them. All the way at the top is the name of the skill. Below that are short keywords that tell you stuff like if the skill deals physical or magical damage, if it is an attack or a cast skill, if it is a buff, like we can see on the Shadow Walk skill, or if it is a debuff on the enemy. This includes stuns, blinds, and anything like that. It's this purple color here, although I can't really tell what it exactly says. Now below these keywords we have the usual skill description. And then if we jump to the bottom, we see the usual details like mana cost, cast time, cooldown, range, and who you can target with the skill. And now we get to the part in blue. These are specialized skill adaptations, meaning you can add different effects to these basic skills and specialize your skills however you prefer them to be. We did hear about a skill board of sorts, although we did not see it yet. I can't quite remember if it was the Pantheon or the Arcana. However, with the skill board system you can add these bonus effects to the usual effects of the skill. Let's take a closer look at the first skill, the most iconic skill of the assassin, ambush. You jump behind an enemy within 20-meter range and deal damage to it. This has a 75% chance to spin and stun the target for 3 seconds. That's the basic description of the skill, and in blue we can see some additional effects. In this case, when a target is blinded when you hit it with ambush, the stun duration increases by 1 second. The critical damage is increased by 50% for 3 seconds after using this skill. There is a 50% chance to inflict the target with a spirit attack for 5 seconds after using this skill. If this triggers, the target spirit is damaged by up to 500. And lastly, the skill's effect applies to up to 4 targets. As you can see, this gives a very unique way to adjust your skills, and hopefully we have good options we can choose between. Now, I will not go over every blue adjustment in detail for the following skills. I will just mention a few that seem important to me. The second skill is Surprise Attack. We also know this one from the first Aion game. It is the usual backstab, but this time in Aion2 it has a small AoE radius. The description says, deals 3000 damage to targets within 4 meters, and when attacking from behind it deals probably additional 4000 damage. The specialization here adds 30% lifesteal when you hit the target from behind. The third skill is Flash Slash. That skill sounds actually very interesting to me in an action game, because you can only use it in melee range, and upon using it you move to the other side of the enemy, which should make it not only useful for the backstab, but also to dodge some enemy skills. The description says, moves to the opposite side of the target within 4 meters, deals 2700 damage to up to 4 enemies and inflicts them with blindness for 3 seconds with a 50% chance. The specialization of the skill increases the blind duration by 2 seconds. The fourth skill is Pattern Explosion. This is the usual rune explosion we know from the first Aion game. But let me explain it shortly for those that might not know. Assassins apply runes onto the enemy with certain skills. They can stack them on the enemy up to 5 times, and they can then use these rune explosions to remove the stacks and apply different effects onto their target. In the first game, that ranged from dealing damage and applying stuns to blinding and silencing the enemy for a few seconds. And here it is pretty similar. The description says, deals 3200 damage to up to 4 enemies within 4 meters of a target within 20-meter distance. When the pattern explodes, it has a chance to stun these enemies for 3 seconds. As you can see, with 1 stack it has a 20% chance to stun them, with 5 stacks it has a 100% chance to stun them. And the damage also increases the more stacks the enemy has on him. The fifth skill is Dark Sword Throw. This is basically the throw dagger skill of the first Aion game, which was probably my favorite skill of the assassin. It says, deals 5500 damage to a target within 20 meters and slows them by 40% for 5 seconds. This is so good. Finally a ranged slow for the assassin that allows him to get close. In the first Aion game it was such a pain, because the only slow you had as an assassin was a cast skill with not much range, that also bugged out so often and simply didn't hit the enemy at all. Anyway, the specialization adds the bonus effect to remove the enemy's shield, and that's exactly why I love this skill in the first Aion game. So I'm happy that this effect returns. The sixth skill is Spiral Slash. It says, charges to a target within 20 meters, deals 7500 damage to up to 4 enemies, and inflicts stun and spin for 4 seconds with a 75% chance. Now this one is just nasty. I have no idea what this skill is. A dash that deals incredible amount of damage in a small AoE area and also stuns these targets for 4 seconds? That's crazy. The seventh skill is Aerial Capture. It says, deals 3700 damage to a target within 10 meters, and has a 50% chance to bind them in the air for 3 seconds. It has a 100% chance to bind the target in the air if the target has 5 rune stacks on him. We had this in the first Aion game as well, and it was basically one of the rune explosions. Here it is also the first time that we see the word engine on the top right. As far as I can tell, this means this skill has chain skills after using it. We will see more examples of that a bit later, because this skill wasn't actually used during the live stream, so we didn't actually see anything of it. The 8th skill is Shadow Walk. It's the usual stealth skill that makes you invisible for 10 seconds. However, what is important here is that with the specialization, the skill also grants stealth to your party members for this duration. It also has some other specializations, like the first attack from stealth guarantees a critical hit. Okay, next we have 2 skills that are still unknown. They are grayed out, and this is because these have specific requirements to use them. They light up all the time during fights, as you can see, and have multiple chain skills attached to them. Sadly, we do not have any more info on them as of yet. And lastly, we have the bread and butter skills of the assassin. The first one is Quick Slash, which says deals 1200 damage to up to 4 enemies within 4 meters and restores 100 mental power, meaning mana. We do not see the stats below, but it doesn't really matter anyway, because it will have no mana cost, no cooldown, it's simply an auto attack that restores mana. And the last skill we cover today is Roar of the Beast. It says deals 1600 damage to up to 4 enemies within 4 meters, and imprints a rune pattern once. This is the skill that will be used to engrave the runes onto your enemies, and you will then use the pattern explosion to deal more damage and stun your enemies. Both of these skills, meaning Quick Slash and Roar of the Beast, have multiple chain skills attached to them, and we can see them being used multiple times during the livestream. And that's pretty much all we know for now. I know that a lot of people are upset or worried because they think these are not enough skills for an MMORPG, and I personally also do like having a few more skills. However, you gotta keep in mind that you can't really compare this action-based game with a standard tap target game like the first Aion game was. Less skills doesn't necessarily mean less skilled or whatever. I mean, look at League of Legends, they only have 4 basic skills and make it work as a game that requires skill. What I'm trying to say is simply, don't get discouraged by such things and simply try out the game and see how it feels for yourself. The game is open for pre-registration for both Taiwan and Korea, so if you are interested, go ahead and register for it. Once again, there will be another Taiwanese livestream in like 2 days. We do not know what exactly will be shown, but I will cover it nonetheless. I personally hope for some extra infos about chanters, but yeah, maybe that's just me. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding Aion2, make sure to join the Aion2 community Discord. Alright, I'm out. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye.